Okay.
Right.
Thank you, everybody. We had a little non-public session beforehand, so we have already done our roll call, and so I can ask everybody to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And for the record, we had a couple board members join us, Eunice Landry, Eliza Drolet. Let's see. First up, agenda review. Take a motion on that. Agenda review motion.
Make a motion to accept the agenda, or to review the agenda? Accept the agenda as presented.
Second.
Sorry.
Is there any additions, subtractions, or anything else that needs to go inside there? Seeing none and hearing none. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Next up, I need approval of the April 15th, 2025 minutes and the April 15th non-public minutes.
I make a motion to approve the April 15th, 2025 and the April 15th, 2025 non-public session minutes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion, anything to be changed, modified, or? Okay, seeing none or hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Next up, we have public input. Anybody from the public like to come say hello? Okay, and I will close public input. Next up, we're going to have an ELO presentation. Michelle Kimball, I guess you're going to be introducing somebody for us today.
Hi there. I need to lower this, but I can put it back up for Sarah. I'm Michelle Kimball. I teach Spanish here at Prospect Mountain High School. I'm going to introduce Sarah Lewis. Sarah Lewis is a Spanish 5 independent study student that I have. She joined us after coming from Vermont, where she joined my class as a junior in a Spanish 4 class. And last year she traveled with me to Spain, where we toured all around. From there, she can tell you where Spanish went for her. I'll save that for her. And then this year she does an independent study with me as well as an ELO, which is a new opportunity for students here. And I'll let her introduce what she's studying. I think you might have a handout on what she's doing. She recently came back from Costa Rica with our last trip. And again, I'm gonna let her tell you about that, but I'm here to introduce her. I've just been in charge of keeping track of her ELO along with her guidance counselor, and also she reports to me with her independent studies and furthering her study of Spanish. So here's Sarah.
Hello. Like Senora said, my name is Sarah Lewis, and I'm a senior in Spanish 5. Spanish has been a really big part of my life. I've been taking it since I was in the 6th grade in Vermont and then here. So I got this opportunity at the beginning of the year to do an ELO. It's an independent learning opportunity, which has been great. Mr. Doobie sat down with me at the beginning of the year, and we went over questions that I wanted to answer. And so my big thing is medicine. So I want to be a pediatrician when I'm older. And medical has always been important to me. My dad works in a surgeon's office, and my mom's a teacher, so I kind of combined the two with kids and medical and came up with pediatrician. So last year I went to Spain in April, and my roommate ended up passing out on the trip, which was kind of an interesting thing, and I got to see how medicine works in different countries, and that led me to this year doing this ELO. So at the beginning of the year, I got to those questions like I had previously said, and my questions were, I think they're in front of you guys if you want to look at them on the second page, but it was like comparing South American speaking countries to the United States, looking at like different diseases that affect children, as well as just like the accessibility to medicine. So about 2 weeks ago, I went to Costa Rica, and I got to see the different ways that things happen there in medicine, and there were a lot of small clinics that we saw, less at the big hospital, and being able to access medicine was different than it is here. So I thought that was really cool, and yeah, I've learned a lot from the opportunity, and I think it's great for other students to get to do. It's able to apply what you're learning in class and then actually take that and apply it to the real world and hopefully your career in the future.
Awesome.
Impressive.
We have a question. How was the medicine compared to the United States? Like, what access to it, was it a little easier, a little harder? What do you
It's
think?
depending on where you are. So we visited the small place called Tortuguero, and it was anywhere from an hour to a 4-hour boat ride, depending on the water conditions. So there's no cars there. You can only access it by boat or by plane. So there it was very limited access. There was one small clinic, and if there was anything that major happened, you'd have to get boated out. And it's like, if you're like pregnant, or say like, for example, you get like an arm cut off or whatever, some like extreme medical condition, it's critical if you get somewhere like a hospital to be able to save it. So it's definitely more difficult in like rural areas like that, but then in the more like traditional like touristy areas, they more cater towards like United States individuals, and there's definitely more clinics and availability to like medical health care and stuff.
Anybody else have any questions?
So Sarah, did this ELO solidify what it is that you want to do after high school, or have you changed your mind based off of this experience?
It definitely has. I want to be a pediatrician, and I think that Spanish is a really important part of that, being able to make my patients more comfortable if they don't speak English. I think it's important that they're not the ones coming in uncomfortable. They're already nervous and scared because they're injured or hurt. Like, it's more important for me to be the one to be able to speak their language than it is for them to try and speak English while already being scared. So I think it's definitely just shows how important it is to speak another language, as well as the fact to like know if you're traveling somewhere else, to know what's going on in their country as well.
Now, can you do this all over again in Spanish?
I'm not quite fluent in Spanish yet. I do plan to minor in Spanish next year in college, so hopefully I'll get my fluency up.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much.
All right,
It's great.
thank
Thank you
you.
for coming up. And I was lucky enough to coach her for 1 year in tennis. She didn't come back out this year, which is boo.
She is the first junior to receive the seal of biliteracy for our state, for our school as well. So she does have that. She didn't promote herself that
So
well.
can you come tell us what that is?
I'll help.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I'll help.
So the seal by literacy is this test that I took last year. I think it's a national test, and it tests you on like reading, writing, speaking, and listening in Spanish, and I ended up getting it. So yeah.
It's really hard.
So it's a proficiency test that the kids take, and currently our level 3 and 4 French and Spanish students are taking it. We're awaiting the writing and the speaking results right now. We're on a good track, I can tell you that right now. I keep peeking at the scores that we get immediately. So Sarah took it last year with the level 4s, and there were 6 Spanish students that received the seal by literacy last year. She was the one that was the junior. So everybody's shooting to get her record this year. So we have a lot of juniors going for it, and right now Mr. Long has some French 4s that are taking it for the second time, and so far their scores are looking really good with what I've seen. This is the first year that I have Spanish 3s taking it, and I'm really pleased with where they're at as well. I think we'll have a few that get fingers crossed. I know they're very nervous, and Wyatt is actually also one of those kids with his fingers crossed right now, working hard on that. So by the next meeting, we'll have results, and the kids will receive, so Sarah's already received her medal that she got from the state. We also have blue and green cords that they get at for graduation to wear, as well as a decal that they get on, like it's a sticker, but it's what gets put on their diplomas, and it gets on their transcripts as well. So it travels with them. So
That's fantastic.
it is.
Thank you.
All right,
having
thank
us.
you.
Again, thank you.
Have a good night.
We're up to next, school board. Okay, school board meeting schedules.
I have a memo dated today about next month. You also have next year, but if you don't mind, let's talk about next month for a second. Would that be okay? You have that, I wrote it today, it's on the table. The week that the Alton meeting would occur on Monday and the JMA meeting would occur on Tuesday, we have end of year things happening. Monday night is 8th grade step up for both Alton and Barnstead. Some of you may wish to attend that. Tuesday is sports awards for the spring season at the high school. I'm sorry, for all schools, right? Middle and high school sports. So my proposal, suggestion is Barnstead still meets on Wednesday. That's the last day of school. It's a half day. Those of us who have to be at that meeting, no problem as far as employees go, we can do that. But perhaps we push the other two to the following Monday and Tuesday, so we don't conflict with sports awards and 8th grade step up.
Does anybody have any problems with those dates?
I won't be at the 24th.
What was it? Anybody else from Alton have any issues?
No.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Do you need a vote or just consensus is
Oh,
good?
nobody said no, we're gonna do it.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Right, Debbie? Debbie says yes.
Next up in packet is committee assignments. Questions on those? None. Move on those. Next up, we have History Club, thank you, in our packet. Any questions on that? Okay. Finance, Heidi?
So you have your revenue and expense report in your packet. This is as of April 30th. We still have a fund balance, or in excess of 197. We still have this month to get all the requisitions in and purchasing in, but we're looking okay. I did move out the CIP items, so this is a true number. The building maintenance line, I just want to bring out to your attention why it's over. We had, in September, approved removing and replacing the booster pumps and the irrigation pumps, and that was $50,000. And at the time, we weren't sure if we should use the fund balance, you know, what we have at the end of the year, or take it out of CIP. So this does have that in the budget. So it's something to consider, and we can bring next month for you guys to approve how you want to fund that project. If there's any other questions.
Any questions? Concerns?
Why is the principal's office line so far down?
We had, staff changes and we added the dean of.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good question.
Either that or you got a big break.
I saw that gold-plated golf cart over there, so.
That's James.
Changes, okay. Yeah, well, there's that too. Okay, next up is follow-up on the approved club funds.
So I went back to 2017. At the top of the page, you'll see the bulk of it is FDLA. When they go to nationals, you've been kind enough to help them fund that piece. I did, on the bottom half, I wanted to let you know what is included in the budget every year. So I gave you 2024 and this year. It's pretty consistent from year to year.
So, yeah, can we, going forward, look at evening this up and
Budgeting.
budgeting an appropriate amount for each
Yeah, so,
budgets in October?
so when we prepare the draft budget in the fall, we can work with Dave, and we'll bring you a proposal then, but if any of you have input based on this information, shoot us emails, call, stop by.
You've been in a budget committee a while. What do you think about putting in a budget? Makes sense? Okay, it does. I like that. All right, thank you, yes. Okay. Psychology services is information only, votes at our Alton and Barnstead meeting.
And that's because we expend we use grant funds for this, but we expend the grant funds out of the Alton grants and the Barnstead grants. So we're gonna ask you to take those votes at those meetings. But it's awfully convenient to be able to share this information with you all at once. We do in fact share the services. So we keep track of where the services are being used and bill the appropriate grant for the amount of work that's done for each of the two school districts. but we put out one RFP because we want to contract with one company to meet all of our needs. So we've given you the information here. We will schedule action items at the Alton meeting and the Barnstead meeting coming up next time they come up.
We could almost advertise for a school psychologist.
Which we have done, and if we could find school psychologists, we would hire them. Yeah, absolutely, and it's a 6 of one, half dozen of the other situation, because we would still grant fund, so the funding source wouldn't change. It's just a matter of, can we find our own employee or employees now these days versus can we maintain a relationship with a service provider who meets our needs? And right now we're in the latter, and that's just the way it's worked out. But we have, I mean, 1 year we advertised all year. So we've done it, and we can do it again. I will say White Birch has done a nice job for us, particularly this year, second year of their previous 2-year contract prior to this procurement. So I feel like the relationship is working well. Funding wise, if you look at the total and you think in terms of not just salary, but salary, retirement contribution, FICA, healthcare, it's not really that different. So are we paying a little bit more? Yep, we are, because they have to make their profit on top of it, but it's not a huge percentage of the cost.
And also in our packet is transportation bids for both schools.
Which is the same deal, right? It's information here, but we actually budget and expend transportation money out of the Alton School District budget and the Barnstead School District budget. So we will ask for those votes at the Alton and Barnstead board meetings.
Okay. Next up is Counseling Center, Linda Sheff. You have it in our packet. Do you want to talk to this at all, or?
So you have an example of the survey in front of you that I did for the students that attend Lakes Region Technology Center. The board requested that we do that, and so I put it out to all of our Lakes Region Technology students to have them fill it out. Overall, it seems like most of the comments were positive. There was one program with one teacher that some students were not happy with. But other than that, I would say most of the things that the students reported were positive. Does anybody have any questions?
Some questions? Okay.
And I invite any of you to go up and make an appointment with them and see the Lakes Region Technology Center and all of the things that they do up there with our students. If you haven't had the opportunity to do that, it is a great opportunity for them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have a report from the principal in our packet, and I turn over to you, Mr. Latro.
Sure. I think it's pretty straightforward and self-explanatory. I'll just point out a couple highlights. The first page covers the vast list of all the end-of-year happenings. Now, what you see is a hard copy version, but every place we've shared this is linked to a Google Doc. So if we need to tweak something here and there, we can do little updates, and people, so long as they go back and check it, will be aware of that. Also, and as far as I can tell, this isn't something that's usually shared, but in the concerted effort this year, ongoing, to try to share as much as we can about what's happening in the school, you see for a quarter of our school, the checkout process for those seniors at the end of that list of important happenings and events. And then once a month, we do our Good News Assembly slideshow. And as I always say, this is worth taking a couple minutes to read through, because it really gives you a good baseline for what's happening in the school, and some really fun, unique stuff in that regard. And then at the end, my version of the PowerPoint from our recent open house for incoming students and the things involved with that. And then the very last thing is kind of a safety check, simple form that every one of our students going to the prom has to submit. And it just basically lets them know where it is, the time, rules still apply, and kind of the safety related to that. That's it.
Anybody else have any questions?
Mr. Chair, may I commend Charlie Stevens and Jenna Bald? These are state medals, Dave. So if you're not familiar with Skills USA, it's a national skills competition among students in vocational technical programs. Students first compete in a regional competition, which is a knowledge test in their trade area in order to qualify to compete at states. Students then compete at the state level. The top 3 in each trade area receive a gold, silver, or bronze medal. We have a silver medalist in precision manufacturing and a bronze medalist in carpentry from Prospect Mountain. The day we have a gold medalist at the state Skills USA competition, we will be sending that student to Atlanta for the national competition that takes place typically right after the end of the school year in the second half of June. It's very legit. It's a really big deal, and I just want to point that out, that if you're not really familiar with vocational and technical education, it's easy to see something like that and think, oh, that looks nice. This is a really big deal, so congratulations to Charlie and Jenna. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Superintendent Broderick. Worth pointing out.
Any other questions of the principal? Brandy?
I have a question just regarding the senior checkout program. It's my understanding a lot of this is within Infinite Campus, but is this designed to maybe put a little bit more ownership on the student, to be like no surprises as to why you might not be able to graduate, or is this new? Or?
So this covers everything that's not like passing your core classes need for graduation, right? And so, you know, one of the things that Superintendent Broderick discussed with me quite some time ago was we don't want there to be any surprises for our kids moving on. And so something as simple as if they owe money to the school for a library book or anything like that, we want to let them know as soon as possible, here, there's some things you need to address before you can move on. The last thing we want to be doing is jamming up one of our outgoing kids because they have a small balance for one of these various facets. So that was done intentionally early in May, mid-May, to give kids plenty of a heads up about the things they need to do before they can move on. And so far it's been received very well. The kids, unsurprisingly, are very motivated to close out their obligations, whether it's computer, lunch balance, library books, class books, et cetera, to be able to get to where they need to go. And it's easier for our school staff because we're not trying to do this a week after their last day of school.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? None? Thank you very much. Next up in our packet is the building and grounds update from Mr. Leclerc. Any questions or concerns on that?
I just have a question maybe Heidi can answer. How many gallons do we usually, when we approve the bid that we get? How many gallons is that?
For the high school,
Yeah.
I think it's 38,000.
Okay. Is there a penalty if we don't use it all?
No, and we combine it with all 3 districts, and we've definitely used our oil this year.
Next up is a student rep report. Well, I'd like to say the tennis, since I'm helping coach that, we had a game out here today, which was finishing up when I came in against Profile. And then Interlakes, we had a game yesterday but had to stop. We were tied 3-3 and they came back tonight to finish that game, so they're out there finishing that kind of like a doubleheader almost. And then tomorrow is, for us, is we're heading to Conant. Yep, and then Moultonborough Friday, that's the last of our regular season, and see what happens from there. I'd also like to thank all the teachers and chaperones that went on these class trips. Again, third year, my daughters had a wonderful opportunity to go. They went to, with Mr. Long, went to Greece, and then they finished out in Rome, a 10-day trip. Pictures that I got to see, they brought back was amazing. I know my daughter and some others had a really wonderful time, learned a lot of things. I don't know if anybody else wants to speak to that at all, but I know Lainey had a great time.
No, I should have been like Hillary and signed up. They had a great time. Yeah, so super appreciative of the teachers that step up and make those types of opportunities happen.
It's an amazing opportunity. Mr. Chair? Yes?
So while we're on Wyatt's report, since he's not here, I had the pleasure of sharing with him today, and you'll find, I think on the table, some copies of this, that Alton native Howie Sanborn, who is now part of the USA Triathlon team, who competes in the para-triathlon and lives currently in Colorado Springs. He's ranked in the top 5 in the world, and he's coming to speak at commencement to the graduating class this year, which is pretty exciting. Howie, he'll tell his story at graduation, and if you weren't planning to come, please rethink that. He'll tell his story, but when I talked to him a few weeks ago, he told me if there were 30 kids in his graduating class in Alton, he might have been 30th. But that makes him an even better example in my mind. I think he might have been exaggerating, but nevertheless.
I had Howie in class.
Okay. So Mike might be able to verify.
We'll leave it at that, right?
But read his resume, and there may be no better illustration that every pathway after graduation is valuable and the sky's the limit for every kid. Commencement means beginning. And that's what's happening for our seniors in just a few weeks.
That's awesome. And I say on behalf of Wyatt, he is actually playing a tennis match today. The boys tennis team is going very, very well. I will say that some of the kids play tennis over in Europe. And my daughter might beat Wyatt and a couple others over there. Just saying. Wyatt. All right, next up, SAU office. Over to you, Matt.
Yep. Just a couple quick highlights. You heard Sarah talk a little bit about ELO, and we are continuing to push the ELOs. As you know, last year we did a major revamp of the ELO program. We funneled that through Linda Sheff's office. And this year, as a way of kind of getting more kids excited about it or even interested in it, Rhonda Fernald held a pack. So some kids were able to go and kind of see firsthand what it is to be in ELO. We're also looking at some grant money to fund an ELO coordinator, so somebody that can actually go out into the field for the kids and things of that nature to really kind of generate more opportunities for them. And even not just the ELOs, but if they want to do internships or work studies and stuff like that, it gives somebody an opportunity to be able to go and meet with our businesses, let them know that we have these opportunities, and really try to connect our community with the school. Thursday, our literacy committee has our last and final meeting of this school year. One of the things that we're going to be doing is taking a look at ed reports on curriculum adoption case studies. One of the things that we're going to be looking at next year is trying to figure out what programs we want to look at piloting and things of that nature, and this is a good opportunity to walk through a process like that with our literacy committee so that they understand how it's going to work. And again, this is a K through 12 or pre-K through 12 group, so everybody has a say at the table. A group of them will be coming to the JMA in June to present to you what we've been doing this whole year and kind of giving you highlights of it, but also giving you what our next steps are as we continue to look at our literacy curriculum and what changes need to take place. I apologize for the typo. That should say March 11th. That should say May 23rd. So this Friday is our last full PD day. We will continue our work with an embedded honors. Dean Lee is going to be myself and our consultant doing an actual lesson with the different teachers and everything else, having them involved in the lesson about how embedded honors works, asking questions and things of that nature, to so really kind of give them a full-fledged of what's going to be taking place next year, and then they'll continue to work on their scope and sequences. You can see some of the other things that the teams will be doing. Paul Borsch, our assistant special ed director, will be working with our paraprofessionals, as will Jess Hayes, on School Guide for supporting neurodiversity. The last piece there is that library media specialists. We will finish our scope and sequence for our K through 12 literacy which I'll be bringing to the boards for you to take a look at and approve that. Matt Dumont and Jackson Connors have done a great job working with our library media specialist, not only in terms of developing the scope and sequence, but them also getting Google certified, so that it's more than just somebody who's in the library. It's really kind of working with our faculty, staff, and students in terms of the media stuff that we do. So excited for them and excited for our teachers for taking that challenge. That's it.
That's it. Anybody have any questions for Matt?
How is the, just fastly approaching the start of the embedded honors program for the fall, do we have the buy-in of all the staff?
Yeah, I think as each day goes by and each week goes by, the understanding is better and better. You know, you have our early adopters who are on board from day one, and we've been doing a lot of work with some of the individuals who were struggling with the concepts, and really kind of giving them one-on-one individual attention versus whole group stuff. So all of our teachers in our core classes will be ready for our 9th grade curriculums. With our electives, we had them choose one of them because it would be difficult to do all of the electives that they teach. So we're in pretty good shape. There's still some individuals that are apprehensive of what this is going to look like, but we're also developing for next year professional development to continue in this area so that we can have weekly meetings if we need to, or a couple meetings a month to really kind of sit down and talk about what are some of the frustrations, what's working, what's not working, not only from the faculty side of it, but also from the student's perspective as well. So,
Okay,
yep.
I appreciate that. Just one more question. So this is new, right? So how much time and data do we need to know this is working or this is not working? Like,
Yep.
is it a year? Is it 2 years? Is it 3 years?
Well, it's a rollout process,
No.
right? So, I mean, I think at the very minimum, we're gonna look at a couple years to see what the data shows us over the next couple years, so we can look at, even though it's different cohorts, we can kind of take a look at what have previous 9th grade students done compared to the 9th grade students, sophomores, and things of that nature. So, yeah, so we'll continue to look at that data. Yep.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, the superintendent's report.
Which you received via email. So if there are any questions, I will answer them. I do have a couple of minor corrections. House 771, the one that has passed both chambers, the House and the Senate, is not quite going to the governor's desk yet because it turns out, I talked to the primary sponsor on Sunday, the Senate's amendment was not identical to the House's amendment. It doesn't substantially change anything in the bill, but they need to reconcile that now, so it goes back to the House to make sure the House is okay with the Senate's amendment language before it goes on to the governor's desk, which we should anticipate it will. Questions on that first section of my report about the legislative items? In terms of current applications, we're open for the month. We had 10 in when I wrote this report. I'm not checking it every 15 minutes. We have a meeting tomorrow or the next day to talk about that process, but we seem to be within the number that you set. Regarding remember the Granite State Academy Alternative Program and the agreement with K-12 education, it has been inching forward a little too slowly for my liking, but it's happening between our attorney and their attorneys. I've highlighted in my report what kind of the remaining issues are. Pretty easy to resolve, but I would anticipate, and I think I suggested in here, that you might want to put a group together unless you want to keep having Christy and Jason do this on their own. We're going to need to get serious about expansion to grades K through 6, right? We originally developed this idea to serve grades 7 through 12. Your exclusivity window with K-12 for the younger grades will go away either in 1 or 2 years. It's one of the last items we're still negotiating. And their experience in other states is that even more families want to do this kind of thing with younger kids than with high school aged kids. So the opportunity may even be greater at those younger grades. So that is something we would need to figure out over the next year, even if we agree on 2 more years of exclusivity. I think it would be in the JMA's best interest to get it figured out.
Wouldn't the shared services committee, like,
Well, they're gonna be
handle
pretty
that
busy
if
too.
we're gonna be,
It's a question for you all.
I'm happy to
Chrissy,
do-
they're
I'm just
going to be
asking,
pretty
yeah.
busy too. It's the next item in my report.
I'm happy to continue with you if you want to continue on this. Like, we've been reading the contract and sitting down with it, so.
It's gonna take a lot of reporting back. I think in the fall, everyone, and if you're, you know, it's either been a while or you're just not familiar with this because of being newer on the board, you're all going to have to be hearing a lot about this next fall as it gets worked out, right, before you take any actions.
What do you guys want to do?
yeah, I'm okay with that. We can,
Is the board okay with continue working on it?
Which does bring me to the shared services group and the merger grant. And it's not unusual, you know, we're the first ones to do this, right? I told you all that before. And we've had a lot of success being the first ones to do some things over the last few years. In this case, I'm not shocked that when the Department of Ed received our applications for the merger grant, they came back with new requirements that they hadn't come up with the first time I talked to them about it. And they are looking for us to comply with the reorganization process outlined in RSA 194C Section 3, titled Reorganization. I put the language of that section of the law at the end of my report. If you read it, there's a bit there. It's probably not anything you won't want to or be able to do, but it will need to be done, that brings us back to the Shared Services Committee. So I've talked to our attorney. He knows that this is what needs to be done. He's getting ready to guide that committee through it. And as soon as Drummond Woodsum says he's ready or they're ready to come over and do that, we can schedule that. If the 4 of you who are on that committee don't strenuously object, it might be helpful to meet once or twice over the summer months. I know we don't always like to do that to keep that moving along. But I would only ask for meetings if the lawyer's ready, right, to come and make it productive. I see nods, which is helpful. Yeah, thank you. That's what I figured. So any other questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Any other questions? Any questions of the superintendent? All right. Now we're gonna work up to action items.
I appreciate the golf clap, thank you.
FY '24 PMHS audit.
So the audit letter is attached, to the memo. This year, the fund balance to be returned to the school district is $218,460. It'll be split, 50.64% to Alton, Barnstead's 49.36%. And then we also have some fund balance to be returned, $7,015, which will be proportioned the same way that I just said. I need this approved, so that I can cut the checks to the districts. And if you have any questions, I know it was shared with you in the drive. There weren't many concerns, but it was student activity accounts again that,
Timely.
I've talked with the new person and we're doing better. Other than that, things went really well.
I make a motion to accept the fund balance of $218,460 and the Fund 5 balance of $7,015.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, all in favor? Aye. That passes. The 25-26 assessment schedule.
Yeah, so I'll need you to approve the net assessment at $10,329,358.
I'm missing that kind of money in my bank account.
I make a motion to approve the assessment schedule of $10,329,358.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Okay. Lakes Region High School Consortium Agreement.
You may have read about this in the Concord Monitor about a month ago. The Lakes Region Superintendent's Roundtable has been working on this year. This is an agreement that would allow students from any school in the consortium. You can see the list of 13 districts that have either already, boards have already voted or are being asked to vote to join this. Students would be able to take any class offered at any of the other schools at the grade level if they can provide their own transportation, if the class is not available at their own school, and at no charge to either the student or the school. And that's why it requires your vote. It's a consortium agreement among the schools not to charge each other. If we're offering, say, a physics class, and there's another school on the list that is not, and they have a student who wants to take physics that can drive themselves here, they would be allowed to come take that class for free.
Great.
I make a motion to approve the Lakes Region High Schools Consortium Agreement.
Second. Do you need a motion to you can sign off on it too? Yeah, and that the superintendent can sign off on it.
And that the superintendent can sign off on it.
Second. I would.
No, you would have. Discussion? I think this is great. Our kids can go somewhere else when we were missing physics. It's great. So, all in favor? Aye. Personnel. Looks like,
Make a motion to approve the resignations of two teachers with regrets.
Second.
any discussion?
Unfortunate.
Seeing none, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye. Make a motion to approve the incoming hires for a science teacher and a math teacher.
Second.
Okay, motion and seconded. Discussion? Seeing none and hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
The rest of the list is, no action needed.
Nothing bad, but did you
What's it? Two retirements. Oh, we do?
So we missed some?
We got two retirements.
No action, no action.
So we have two retirements, just want to throw out there so people know, under our support staff. David Drolet is retiring, and Karen Whitehouse is also retiring. So that is awesome. So thank you very much for their service.
Wendy Robertson.
And this one? Wendy Robertson. Wendy Robertson.
And we thank them for their service.
That's awesome. Thank you.
So on personnel, we have, particularly at the high school and SAU levels, which you handle here at the JMA, we have more non-union staff than we have at the other schools. So the board needs to annually act to reappoint some, and if they need to be reappointed, I've highlighted that with red text on this handout. And also, when you budget, you create, or the voters approve, a pool of funds for salary increases, but we don't have bargaining agreements or other rules that govern what those increases should be. So we solicit input from employee supervisors about performance. We work to come in under the amount in the budget. If you have specifics that you want to discuss, and I understand you very well may, because there are some things here you might want to talk about, you may do so in non-public because we're talking about individual employees.
I would propose that we wait for a non-public for this discussion.
That's fine. So this will wait for non-public.
Somewhere here.
Yep, so we need a motion for authorizing the superintendent to hire over the summer.
Make a motion that we authorize the superintendent to hire over the summer as needed. Second.
Any discussion? This is something we do every year as teachers come available. Sometimes you gotta scoop them up quick over the summertime. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next up is our public input.
Good evening, Megan Schmierman from Barnstead. Someone recently recommended that we bring our concerns about district leadership directly to the board, so I'm here before you this evening. This is not the first time things have been brought to your attention, but with no true system of checks and balances in place, damage continues to be done. As a taxpayer, I have concern for the students and educators in this district. Quality teachers have been non-renewed, while uncertified and unreliable teachers remain. I believe these decisions need to be questioned. Years of institutional knowledge has been tossed aside as many faculty and staff have been fired or have chosen to leave to escape the toxic environment cultivated here. This loss has been celebrated as a cost-saving measure, replacing experienced educators with cheaper options so more money can be spent elsewhere, like marketing campaigns. Our children are not a corporation. Recently, I heard it reported that SAT prep had happened for the first time here. Not true. It's been happening for years, sponsored by the counselors who collaborated with the math and English departments. Just one small example of the knowledge and tradition that's been lost. It truly saddens me to see what was built up as an amazing school for many years get destroyed. It's very challenging to personalize education to maximize individual success when relationships aren't built. It's also a myth that teachers have fled for higher paying districts. It's also just not true. But not crying on the way to work is worth the pay cut for many. I would hope that those who educate and support the children of Alton and Barnstead should be treated with respect. Please start valuing the professionals who work here, who choose to get their master's degrees to educate our children at a higher level. And instead of firing them, please care about them as they care for your kids. We need positive role models that are important to the growth of our children and our community. How you treat our community matters. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public input?
I just wanted to give accolades to some staff here at Prospect. I'm the past president for the New Hampshire Association of Educational Office Professionals, and this year we had 3 of our staff members here present at our annual conference, and that's Cody McGregor, Matt Dumond, and Aaron O'Neill, who is getting Google certified, and they did an outstanding job. We had 123 secretaries from across the state that participate in this conference, and we had another 43 presenters for a 3-day workshop, and I just am so proud of the support that is given from our school district.
Before you walk away, can you just state your name for the record? So,
Sorry, I have to get that on there.
Deborah Brown, CEOE, SAU, 7286 and 301.
we all know you, but thank you. Okay, seeing no other public input, I will close public input at this point. Future agenda follow-up items. Graduation, more hirings.
You'll need a buildings and grounds
Services.
meeting prior to the June JMA meeting.
Yeah.
We'll probably have some encumbrances, it just depends on our position.
Okay.
I think also some future meeting, I'd like to see some description of the purpose of all the committees we have.
Okay. The school board committees?
Yes.
Okay. Let's have that somewhere. Yep. Okay. Yes. Anything else? I'm sure we'll have plenty. All right. Any other business? Before we move into non-public session? Okay, if not, then I will
Make a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91-A:3